Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we bring you breaking news from the Mediterranean Sea, where panic has erupted on the high seas. A flotilla carrying activists, humanitarian aid, and supplies bound for Gaza has declared an emergency as reports emerge that the Israeli Navy is preparing to intercept the convoy. The situation has drawn intense international attention, raising fears of a violent confrontation at sea. With global media monitoring closely and governments weighing in, the next few hours could shape not only the fate of this flotilla, but also the already tense relationship between Israel, Gaza, and the wider international community. Let's dive into the details, analyze the risks, and understand what makes this situation so volatile. The flotilla, composed of several civilian vessels flying international flags, set sail with the stated mission of delivering humanitarian supplies to Gaza. Organizers of the convoy say their goal is to break the blockade that Israel has maintained for years, a blockade Israel insists is necessary to prevent weapons from reaching Hamas. The flotilla includes international activists, journalists, doctors, and aid workers, many of whom describe their mission as peaceful but determined. But as history shows, attempts to challenge the Gaza blockade often lead to confrontation. Israel has repeatedly warned that no ship will be allowed to enter Gaza waters without inspection. Any attempt to breach the blockade, Israeli officials say, will be met with force if necessary. That warning is what makes today's developments so dangerous. Reports now suggest that the Israeli Navy has already moved warships into position to intercept the flotilla before it reaches Gaza. Meanwhile, organizers of the flotilla claim that they have no intention of surrendering quietly. They argue that the blockade is illegal under international law and that their mission is humanitarian. This clash of positions has created a standoff that could escalate at any moment. Panic began to spread on board when communications from Israeli authorities warned the flotilla to change course. Witnesses describe a tense atmosphere, with activists chanting, preparing banners, and broadcasting live updates on social media. Some of the crew members reportedly fear violent boarding operations like those seen in past flotilla confrontations, such as the infamous Mavi Marmara incident of 2010, when Israeli commandos stormed a Turkish ship, resulting in multiple deaths and international outrage. The declaration of emergency by the flotilla signals just how high tensions have risen. Organizers are calling on international governments, the United Nations, and human rights groups to intervene immediately to prevent bloodshed. Already, statements are pouring in from Ankara, Doha, Brussels, and Washington, with officials urging restraint. For Israel, however, the blockade is seen as a matter of national security. Officials argue that allowing unchecked shipments into Gaza would open the door to weapons smuggling, strengthening Hamas and endangering Israeli civilians. From Israel's perspective, the flotilla is not just a group of humanitarian activists. It is a direct challenge to its sovereignty and security doctrine. This situation puts Tel Aviv in a difficult position. If Israel intercepts the ships harshly, it risks international condemnation and renewed diplomatic isolation. If it allows the flotilla through, it sets a precedent that others could exploit, weakening the blockade entirely. Either decision carries enormous consequences. From Gaza's point of view, the flotilla represents hope. Civilians suffering under years of blockade see these ships as a lifeline bringing food, medicine, and international solidarity. Crowds are reportedly gathering along the coastline in anticipation, cheering as word spreads of the approaching aid. For ordinary Gazans, the flotilla symbolizes a rare moment where the outside world is actively challenging Israel's control. But hope is mixed with fear. Many remember the deadly outcomes of previous flotilla missions. Families in Gaza worry that once again, a mission meant to deliver aid could end in tragedy on the high seas. Internationally, this crisis has once again thrown the Gaza blockade into the spotlight. Governments and NGOs are reminding the world that the blockade has crippled Gaza's economy, restricted freedom of movement, and created widespread humanitarian suffering. At the same time, Israel's allies emphasize the security challenges posed by Hamas rockets and tunnels, arguing that lifting the blockade without safeguards would put Israeli civilians in danger. This clash of narratives makes the flotilla more than just a group of ships. It has become a stage for global politics, with both sides trying to win hearts, minds, and headlines. Let's look at the possible scenarios that could unfold in the coming hours. Scenario 1. A peaceful interception. Israeli Navy ships approach. Order the flotilla to dock at Ashdod for inspection and escort the ships without violence. Aid is then delivered to Gaza through official channels. This would avoid bloodshed, but undermine the flotilla's core mission of breaking the blockade. Scenario 2. A violent confrontation. If activists resist boarding, or if Israeli commandos use force, clashes could erupt, leading to injuries or deaths. This would spark international outrage, potentially trigger mass protests, and strain Israel's diplomatic relations, particularly with countries like Turkey, which has supported flotilla missions in the past. Scenario 3. International intervention. If global pressure builds rapidly, Israel might be forced to allow the flotilla through or negotiate a compromise, such as unloading the aid in a third country before sending it into Gaza. This would be a rare but dramatic development. At this point, no one knows which path the crisis will take. What is clear is that panic on board is rising. Activists report hearing the distant sound of naval engines. Helicopters have been spotted in the skies. Social media feeds are filled with urgent pleas. Do not let this become another massacre. From Israel's side, officials have remained firm, repeating the same message. No vessel will be allowed to breach the Gaza blockade. Naval units are said to be operating under strict orders, but military analysts warn that once soldiers board the ships, chaos could erupt regardless of intentions. The global media is preparing for breaking coverage. Networks in Europe, the Middle East, and North America have crews on standby. The flotilla itself is streaming live footage, making it nearly impossible for events to be hidden from the world's eyes. This means that whatever happens, the world will witness it in real time. Looking at the bigger picture, this flotilla is about much more than aid deliveries. It represents a test of wills between Israel and the international community, between security concerns and humanitarian principles, and between the ongoing cycle of conflict and the possibility of new approaches. For Israel, the blockade remains non-negotiable as long as Hamas controls Gaza. For the activists, breaking the blockade is the only way to highlight what they call the collective punishment of Gaza's population. For ordinary Gazans, the flotilla carries both hope and fear. The declaration of emergency shows that time is running out for a diplomatic solution. The next few hours could bring either a relatively calm interception or a deadly escalation. Either way, the consequences will reverberate far beyond the Mediterranean waters where this drama is playing out. What makes this moment even more significant is that it comes at a time of heightened regional tensions. With wars raging elsewhere in the Middle East, alliances shifting, and major powers like the US and Russia deeply involved in regional conflicts, even a small spark at sea could escalate into a larger crisis. If blood is spilled, expect ripple effects across the region, from Ankara to Tehran, from Washington to Brussels. At the heart of it all are the people on board these ships, activists, doctors, journalists, and crew members who set sail with the dream of breaking a blockade. Their courage is being tested, their safety is in jeopardy, and their fate may soon be decided in a confrontation they cannot control. As panic grips the flotilla and Israeli interception looms closer, the world is left holding its breath. Will this be remembered as a moment of peace or a moment of tragedy? That answer may come sooner than anyone expects.